He started out his presidency, pretty much the first words out of his mouth were, I want to be a president for all races and religions. Brian Lanza put out a statement last night denouncing all racism on behalf of the administration, as they've continually done. Today, he told the New York Times, I don't want any of this. Stop it. He looked in the camera in 60 Minutes and said, cut it out. He's done this 4 times. If it were up to you,
well,
Anna,
tell you what
or
he needs to do.
Let me finish. If it were up to you, Anna, or the leftists, he would spend every day of his presidency standing on top of Trump Tower with a megaphone saying, I am not a racist. But he's not going to do that. He's done it 4 times already. He's going to work for the American people, and he's not going to be baited into these traps you are trying to lay and the left are trying to lay.
Great White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany. All right, so Kayleigh, everybody saw what you were saying is the science is on the side of opening schools, and the science shouldn't get in the way of reopening schools because the science supports reopening schools. But then he comes out and reframes what you said to make you look bad. Do you ever just see him walking around and kind of stick a finger in his face and say, Jim, what the hell are you doing?
Hey, I see him around, and he's actually quite nice off camera, which is interesting. But look, it's an admission that they can't debate on the merits, Jesse.
I guess the Chicago mayor hates you now. Her name's Lightfoot. You said, I guess she wasn't really doing her job. Let's listen to what you said.
It is unacceptable, and under this president, he'll take action, and the derelict mayor of Chicago should step up and ask for federal help because she's doing a very poor job at securing her streets.
All right, so then what did you, I think she tweeted, hey, Karen, watch your mouth.
Yeah,
Karen's
that's right.
supposed to be some, I guess, slang for a bossy middle-aged white woman. I don't know. You don't even look middle-aged. You look younger than that. But what's your response to the mayor of Chicago?
Yeah, my response is that I'm very upset about the violence in the streets of her city. You know, she's focused on words, but instead she should be focused on action because, you know, right now, this weekend, what we'll see is hopefully not, but what we've routinely seen are double-digit numbers of people dying in her city. So she needs to focus on securing her streets. I understand the truth hurts. The president's written her a letter and offered her help, and she needs to take it because it's inexcusable when children die in the Democrat-run streets of Chicago. Jim, that's a very nice tie, Jim, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yesterday, the U.S. hit 100,000 deaths from the coronavirus. That happened at around 6 o'clock yesterday evening. It took until about 9 in the morning for the president to recognize that on Twitter. What took him so long?
Look, the president recognized that landmark before we even hit it. The president, that was, after all, it was the impetus behind him lowering the flag to half-staff. He did that for several days, and that was an acknowledgement of that number approaching, and he acknowledged it in a tweet this morning.
But we hit 100,000 yesterday evening, and it took 13 hours, some odd hours, for him to recognize that and tweet about it.
And far in advance of that benchmark, as I noted, he lowered the flag to half-staff. The president has said, you know, you mentioned 100,000, but the president has said 1 death is too many. He takes this very seriously. He said before this is the hardest part of his presidency. It's something that no one wanted to see happen.
And on Twitter, shouldn't the president be fact-checked, especially this president who has made so many false and misleading statements that has put, you know, fact checkers to work across the world? I mean, he's uttered some 18,000 false and misleading statements, according to the Washington Post. If there's any president out there who should be fact-checked, any political leader out there should be fact-checked, isn't it President Trump? And aren't you trying to silence fact-checking by going after Twitter like this?
Look, well, first I would say I disagree with all, if not almost all, of those assertions that you're making there.
Denied.
Will any White House officials be at the rally tomorrow?
There will be several White House officials at the rally tomorrow.
Will those officials, or will you be there, for example?
I will be there.
Will you and other White House officials be wearing masks at the rally?
It's a personal choice. I won't be wearing a mask. I can't speak for my colleagues.
And why won't you wear a mask? Is it sort of a personal political statement? Is it because the president would be disappointed in you if you don't wear a mask?
It's a personal decision. I'm tested regularly. I feel that it's safe for me not to be wearing a mask, and I'm in compliance with CDC guidelines, which are recommended but not required.
And if I can ask you about last night, the president tweeted out some fake videos, one of which was labeled manipulated media by Twitter. Why is the president sharing fake videos on Twitter about 2 toddlers who are obviously showing a lot of love for one another? It seems as though he's exploiting children to make some sort of crass political point. Why is he sharing fake videos?
He was making a point about CNN specifically. He was making a point that CNN has regularly taken him out of context, that in 2019, CNN misleadingly aired a clip from one viewpoint repeatedly to falsely accuse the Covington boys of being, quote, students in MAGA gear harassing a Native American elder. That's a harassing video, a misleading video about children that had really grave consequences for their future.
So you're saying it's okay to exploit two toddlers hugging one another on a sidewalk to make some sort of political point. As you know, the president has described members of the press as fake news during the course of this administration. When you share fake videos like that, doesn't that make you fake news?
I think the president was making a satirical point that was quite funny if you go and actually watch the video. I think he was making a satire. The point is it was a play on CNN repeatedly taking the president out of context. Like the time when you guys had a chyron that read, Trump slammed some illegal immigrants, they're animals. Well, guess what? The people he called animals were MS-13 illegal immigrants who regularly mutilate people in this country. Those things are entirely misleading.
You don't mind pointing out the president has referred to some Mexican immigrants as rapists. He has tried to pass a Muslim ban in this country. He has described black NFL players as sons of bitches if they take a knee during a football game.
That's an absurd attempt to justify the misleading headlines that are regularly on your network. Like I was just walking in, watching CNN as they lauded the quote rallies in the streets.
Are you saying that the president
gotta let me finish, Jim. This isn't a cable news segment. I'm answering your question right now from the White House podium.
When I
walk out of here, Jim, when I walk out here, Jim, and I see on your network celebratory headlines about the rallies and the protests outside. And you actually said protests and rallies. So in light of a protest, if these gatherings happen in light of a protest or a rally, as you say, that rally is to be condoned, but not the president's rally. I mean, it's appalling. You have one person on your network saying that this is a celebration in the streets, a carnival-like atmosphere. There's a guy with a sign that says free hugs. Yes, Brian.
Kayleigh, there's a national conversation going on right now about the proper place of symbols of the Confederacy, statues, memorials, names, and the president has repeatedly inserted himself into this debate. And I think a lot of people are trying to understand what his view of memorializing the Confederacy is and a proper place for the Confederate flag. So a couple questions. One, does President Trump believe that it was a good thing that the South lost the Civil War?
What a stupid question that is. What a stupid question.
And then two, is he interested in following NASCAR's example and banning the Confederate flag at his own events?
Well, your first question is absolutely absurd. He's proud of the United States of America. Second, with regard to our statues, Americans oppose tearing down our statues. There's a Harvard-Harris poll released just last week that shows 60% of respondents said the statues should remain, and 71% said local governments should block groups from physically destroying the statues. So he stands on the side of preserving our history. Committing a hate crime against an individual, those allegations were just dead wrong.
Does he think
Paula.
Does he think his supporters should not take the flag to Trump rallies? Has he considered banning the Confederate flag from Trump rallies?
Well, at Trump rallies, all flags that are not official campaign gear are banned. Yes.
Kayleigh, why is it Bubba Wallace's responsibility to apologize for an investigation into a news that he didn't report and he never even saw? It was NASCAR that found this, that reported this, and even the FBI referred to it as a news, even if they said it wasn't a specific crime against Mr. Wallace. Why is the president even suggesting that Mr. Wallace should apologize?
Well, look, the FBI, as I noted, concluded that this was not a hate crime, and he believes it'd go a long way if Bubba came out and acknowledged that as well. This was not a hate crime as noted by the FBI.
He's been very clear that the FBI found this was not intentional. Why is he directing this at Mr. Wallace?
So one of the things this is where the president comes from, and this is where the president stands. And he actually hinted at this in his July 4th speech. To those in the media who falsely and consistently label their opponents as racist, who condemn patriotic citizens, who offer a clear and truthful defense of American unity, we want a clear and faithful defense of American history and unity. And when you level false charges, You not only slander me, you slander the American people. He believes the American people are good. And the allegations and the rush to judgment with Jussie Smollett and the Bubba Wallace case and with the Covington Catholic boys, we shouldn't be so quick to jump onto those narratives. Those are just 3 examples of those that have been proven false. David.
Kayleigh, there is a perception that the president is hiding in the bunker on the racial protest issue. He was literally put in the bunker on Friday night by the Secret Service. I mean, would you agree that he is hiding out on this issue, and is that a good posture to be in?
I would not agree with that at all. Look, I was on the phone with the president at least half a dozen times yesterday, and every time I talked to him, he was telling me about a different action he had taken, whether it was talking to a governor about this or a foreign leader about ventilators. This president has been leading. He met with generals yesterday. He's each and every moment taking another action to try to solve and resolve what we've seen in our streets where the governors have failed. He's stepped in. He's acting. He's hard at work. You've heard from him on this issue any number of times, and he's working because that's the job of the president, is to keep this country safe.
Well, we haven't heard him on camera that much. Is he going to give some kind of speech or a specific event about all these disturbances in hundreds of cities?
I really think that that's a misnomer in the media. It was really appalling, some of the coverage I saw, like the New York Times yesterday made no mention of the myriad times that the president has spoken on this issue. Instead, in paragraph 14, they made a cursory mention of his remarks at Space Force, most of which, at least half of which, pertain to George Floyd. There was a Washington Post article with an egregious headline about Trump staying silent. He hasn't been silent on this. I have a whole list of his remarks there, and instead, paragraph 23, they note, oh wait, we're contradicting our own headline. The president did, in fact, make remarks. Contrary to the silent headline, you had Don Lemon on CNN saying at 9:38 p.m. on Saturday night, the president's been silent. Ironically, that comment came 4 hours after the president was quite audibly speaking at this issue. I was there for the remarks, and then you had CNN double down the next day, Sunday afternoon, saying the president was silent. And I don't want to bore you with reading out all of the statements, but it sounds like I should read a few, like the president saying it's a grave tragedy that filled Americans all over the country with horror, anger, and grief, and I stand before you as a friend and ally to every American seeking justice. He said, I understand the pain the people are feeling. I can go on, but I would just be repeating what the president has already said, because make no mistake, this president has not been silent, and at this moment, he is acting to protect this country from the lawlessness we saw just out here in Lafayette Park last night.
Welcome to my house, baby.